Hello students, today we are going to learn class 8 chapter 4 history, tribal, discourse and the vision of a golden age. In this chapter we are going to learn about the life of our tribal peoples and how the discourse or the outsiders affect the life of our tribal peoples. So now let's start the chapter. In 1895, a man named Birsa, who was born in Mundas tribe, started gaining popularity. Why he gaining popularity? Because the tribal peoples thought that he had miracle powers, so he could cure disease and multiply grains. And Birsa himself declared that God had appointed him to save his peoples from trouble and free from the slavery of Dikus, means the outsiders. So he was also famous among other tribes such as Santals and Orions, because during that time all the tribal peoples were facing the problem under the British rules. So Birsa declared that he would safeguard the tribes from Dikus or the outsiders. So first we see how the tribal groups lived. By the 19th centuries, tribal peoples in different parts of India were involved in variety of activities. So some were involved in jhum cultivators, hunter and gatherers and animal herders. So first I am going to explain you jhum cultivation. So this is a shifting cultivations practiced in a hilly areas of our northeast and central Indias, in which land is first cleared and then cultivation is done on that. Means some of them practiced the jhum cultivation and the shifting cultivation, and this was done on small patches of land, mostly in the forest. And the cultivators cut the tree tops to allow the sunlight to reach the ground, and they burn the vegetations on the land and to clear it for the cultivations. So a field that had been cultivated once was left fallow for several years. Means the lives of these tribal peoples depended on free movements within a forest and on being able to use the land and forest for growing their crops. So that is the only way they could practice shifting cultivations. So now let's move to the next group of the tribal peoples is hunter and gatherers. Means in many regions tribal people lived by hunting animals and gathering the forest produce. So they show the forest as essentials for their survivals. So the Khonds of Odishas and Bagas of central Indias follow this practice. So their main activities are they used to hunt collectively, means they regularly went out on collective hunts and then divided the meat among themselves, gather the fruits and nuts and use the shrubs for medical purpose. Sold the forest produced in local market, because the local weavers depended on tribes for kusum flowers which are used as a dye. So the third group of the tribal peoples are animal herders. So many tribal groups lived by herding and rearing the animals. So tribes like Vangujis, Labadis, Gadis and Bakarwas practice this type of a. So these tribal peoples are the pastoralists, and they moved with their herds of cattle or sheep according to the seasons. When the grass in the one place was existed, so they moved to the another area. And some took to settled cultivations. So even before the 19th centuries, many from within the tribal groups had begun settling down and cultivating their fields in one place, year after year, instead of moving from place to place. So British officials so settled tribe groups like the Gonds and Santhalas and move more civilized than hunter-gatherers or shifting cultivators. So those who live in a forest were considered to be a wild and cruel. They needed to be settled as a civilized. So now let us see how did a colonial rule affect the tribals. The lives of tribal groups changed during a British rule or colonial rules. So, what these changes were? So, let us see these changes. So, because of a colonial rule or British rules, effect on the tribal chiefs and effect on shifting cultivations, effects on forest laws, and problem with trade and search for work. So, these changes will affect the lives of our tribal peoples. So, let us see the first changes. What happened to tribal chiefs? Before the arrival of British in many areas, the tribal chiefs were very important peoples. They enjoy a certain amount of economic power and had the right to administrators and control their territories. But now, during the time of British rules, they lost their powers, they lost their administrative controls, discipline was forced upon tribal groups and they had to pay a tribute to Britishers. So, they lost the authorities they had earlier enjoyed amongst their peoples and were unable to fulfill their traditional functions. So now let's move to the second change. During the time of British rules, what happened to the shifting cultivators? The British were uncomfortable with groups who moved about and did not have a fixed home. They wanted tribal groups to settle down and become a peasant cultivators because the British also wanted a regular revenue source for the state. So the British effort to settle a Jhum cultivators was not very successful. Settle the cultivations is not easy in the areas where water is scarce and the soil is dry. In that area, the shifting cultivation is not easy. So in fact, Jhum cultivators who took to plug cultivations often suffered since their fields did not produce a good yield. So the Jhum cultivators in northeast India insisted to continue with their traditional practice. Facing widespread protest, the British had to ultimately allow them the right to carry on shifting cultivation in some parts of the forest. The third changes in forest laws and their impact. So the life of a tribal peoples, as we have seen, was directly connected to the forest. So changes in forest laws had a considerable effect on tribal lives. So the British extended their control over all the forest and declared that forests were state property. So according to the new forest laws, tribes were not allowed to move freely. They could not collect forest. Animals hunting was also banned and they were not allowed to cut wood. So many were therefore forced to move to other areas in search of a work and livelihoods. But once the British stopped the tribal peoples from living inside the forest, they faced a problems. So colonial officers or the British officers come up with a solutions. They decide that they would give a Jhum cultivators small patches of land in the forest and allow them to cultivate these on the condition that those who lived in the forest villages who would have to provide the labor to the forest department and look after the forest. But many tribal groups reacted against the colonial forest laws. They disobeyed the new rules, continued with the practices that were declared illegal. And at time rose in Opal Rebellion, so such was the revolt of Songram Sangram in 1906 in Assam. So look at this map. In this map, this dark area, dark highlighted area is in Assam, is a place of a Songram Sangram. So now let's move to the problem with trade. During the 19th centuries, tribal groups found that traders and the money lenders were coming into the forest more often, wanted to buy the forest produce. So let us consider the case of the silk growers. Hazaribagh in present-day Jharkhand was an area where the Santhalas reared the cocoons and the traders dealing in silk sent their agents who gave the loans to the tribal peoples and collect the cocoons. So the growers were paid rupees 3 to rupees 4 for 1,000 cocoons, and they were sold at a 5 times at the price. So the middlemen, so called because they arranged the deals between the exporters and the silk growers. So in this case, the silk growers earned very little price, and many tribal groups saw the markets and the traders as their main enemies. Now the tribal peoples moved to another place in search of a work. From the late 19th centuries, tea planters started coming up. The mining became an important industries. So tribals were recruited in a large number to work the tea planters of Assam and the coal mines of Jharkhand.